one visa or whatever visa category you have for more than 180 days. And so even though you may be in here and maybe you've overstayed your OPT maybe for about 2-3 months, right? You still will be able to file a national interest waiver, and they can basically go ahead and consider it. They will not consider most of the classification that under which you are doing it. However, if you overstayed your visa for 180 days, do not try to make this application, because automatically to put you into the immigration court system, and you are going to be in removal proceedings. And you don't have to be in the US to file for this. You can file for this from any part of the world. I've encountered a lot of people who came into the US, they went through school, and because they did not want to overstay the visa, and then they were a little not clear on the number of days they could stay here while the application is pending, they left and went back home to Uganda, to Nigeria, and from there they were still able to pursue their NIW application. So you don't have to be in the US to file for this national interest waiver. You could actually get out of the US and file for it. The point is that if you're already in, most of the time it does not make sense to leave and then come back again. So it's always best that you do it from within. And the legal standard that is used in determining whether the NIW should be approved is what we call the preponderance of the evidence standard, which means simply that you more than likely satisfy the requirement that is being given under the classification, or the requirements under the NIW system. You don't have to meet it beyond a reasonable doubt. We are not using that is a very high standard, but the standard is a little lower. But of course, it has to be above average. That is what they use, and a matter of discretion. And I think this also answers the question that came up initially, that even though one may qualify, or you may meet the requirements that is being sought under the classification, USCIS may still deny the application, and they can do it. They have that kind of discretion to be able to do it. And as I said, almost everything can be reviewed by a court, because it is power that is given unto them. And so normally what happens is that if you file an application and then it is denied, what we do is that instead of trying to get through the legal system to try and then get yourself back, there are things that you could do to get it back by filing a motion to reopen or a motion to USCIS to reconsider the decision that they've made. And so even though you may meet the requirements, you may still get a denial just based on the discretion of the officer who is reviewing the application. That cannot be done. And so if you're thinking of NIW, National Interest Waiver, what should you be looking at? You should be looking at one, what we call a proposed endeavor. A proposed endeavor is very, very important. It's the whole idea, or the whole thing that drives the application. And then after you've thought about your proposed endeavor, and that is what you intend to do in the United States, you have to be able to determine whether you fall under two categories that we have under the NIW, which will be the advanced degree category, or what we call the exceptional ability category. And then we go ahead to basically determine whether your endeavor or the thing that you want to pursue in the US meet a standard we call substantial merit and national importance. And then they evaluate you, the individual, to see whether you are well positioned to advance the proposed endeavor. And then also there's a last prong which calls for a waiver of the job offer requirement based on the skill that you have to be able to deliver what you intend to do in the United States. And so, like I said, the proposed endeavor in the national interest waiver is the thing that kind of drives this whole idea of the NIW, which is the most ideal application I think for most of our students. And the proposed endeavor basically is just something that you want to pursue in the US. And so it could be a plan, it could be a vision, it could be an idea that you want to carry out. But of course, it has to be within your professional qualification sphere. And so you cannot say that you're an engineer, but then you want to pursue something, you want to do something in law as your national interest waiver. That one will not fly. You are going to be denied, right? And so your proposed endeavor must always be aligned with the field or your background or experience or your educational credentials that you have must align with the proposed endeavor that you want to pursue. And of course, it is the engine of the petition. If your proposed endeavor is bad, automatically the application is going to be denied. And so that is working about, and then also just making sure that you have a very, very good sense of what you want to do. And then, of course, a good understanding of it, because your proposed endeavor, for the most part, will determine whether your application is going to be approved or not. One thing that I will also want to encourage is that as you begin to think about this proposed endeavor, you are also advised to look at look at ways in which it will fit. It has to be something that is very clear. It has to be something that should be concise. It has to be something that should be attainable, and something, and it has to be something that should be reasonable, right? You can't say you are going to establish an aeroplane firm in the U.S. when you don't even have. I mean, you don't have the funding for it. You don't have anything to show that you want to do it. And so it has to be something that is attainable, something that is reasonable, and something that really falls within those sphere of that. And it has to be something that really resolves a problem within the United States, which is very important. And then once you've considered your proposed endeavor, there are two ways of getting the NIW, and one way is what we call the national interest waiver, or what we call the advanced degree system. The advanced degree basically just means anyone who has a master's degree or higher. So you must have a master's degree or higher. So if you are pursuing a master's degree, you don't need a PhD to file for a national interest waiver. No, a master's degree, a good master's degree, is something that is very, very good and very, very recognizable. And so we always want to encourage that if you have a master's degree program and you don't intend to do a PhD, if you did very well in school, you want to, that is something that you can consider even doing or applying for. And and there's also a caveat for individuals who have not had master's degrees, but then people who just have bachelor's degree. Sometimes there are people who have bachelor's degree and they do not have these advanced degrees of the master's degree and then these professional degrees. They are still able to file for the NIW advanced degree when they have a certain number of experience to make up for the degree. And so with that, you must have about 10 years experience in the field. And if you have about 10 years experience in the field and that's a degree, then you don't need to come and show a master's degree to be able to file for to make your application of support the petition that you want to apply for. And the petition, some of the documents that you need to make the petition will be what they call here diplomas, which will be certificates or what you earned in school. And so those of us who do not have master's degrees here, sometimes there are people who are pursuing master's degree, but they already have another master's degree that they believe they could apply for an NIW application with. You can use that advanced degree. However, you have to be able to convert that certificate and your transcript into the US system. And so you could do it through West, you could do it through other means. So you don't need you don't need a US degree to be able to do it. The degree is not limited to the US, right? You could take advantage of degrees you've earned back home, degrees you've earned in Europe, or degrees you've earned in other parts of the world. However, if you have a US degree, it's always a plus. And I've seen people who have gone through colleges in China, in South Korea, even in Japan, and they have been successful by using their advanced degrees from those institutions to apply for NIW advanced degree, and they got the applications approved. And so, if you are within the US, then of course that is something that is doable, and it is within your reach. So you have to look at your certificate, and then also you have to look at your research works, your publications, and research works that you are doing. Some of them may be may become very handy, or may be very important. Um, uh, may be very important in considering your application for the advanced degree NIW application. And of course, if you are doing presentations, if you are a panel, as we talked about with the EB1, be the same ones, all those qualifications will apply for you for your advanced degree for the NIW national interest waiver. And so you need to be if you're a PhD student, you're a master's degree student, and you want to consider an advanced degree with your NIW, you want to be attending forums, professional forums, you have to be attending programs within your field, making presentations, judging other people's work, and also publishing. Those are very important. When you put all of them together, it will make your application one that is worth really approving. And then you should also consider bringing on board all the accomplishments that you've had, the awards you have received throughout your educational career. And so if you receive an award, an undergrad, if you're the best graduating student, that is something that you want to show in your NIW advanced degree application. If you won, if you want to, if you want to, if you won, if you won an award for your master's degree, that is something that you want to be using. For your PhD, if you've won awards, if you've been recognized, you have to make all those information available for that application. If you have been published in a magazine, all of them are very important to making sure that at least your application gets the best notice that it has to get. But again, as I'm saying, with this whole advanced degree, you have to be within the field. And so you cannot be in the field of engineering and be doing something in the field of business. Normally, if you submit such an application, it will be denied, because the argument will be that you do not have what it takes, or the requisite foundation for what you want to achieve. And so your whole proposed endeavor must align with these certificates that you'll be submitting to USCIS for the evaluation. And then there's the second part, which we call exceptional ability. Exceptional ability is not based on your degrees so much. It is just based on your professional experience. Some of us, we may have a master's degree, but then we have over 20 years working experience in a field that we have been thriving in. National interest waiver will allow you to use the experience that you have garnered within that field to support your application to get a national interest waiver. One of the applications that I've done for national interest waiver, and is one of the most difficult ones to do, is applications for bankers. Those of us who are within the banking field, and because of the nature of the field of banking, especially in parts of Africa here, in Africa, you don't need degrees, you don't need certain degrees to be able to do banking. Here, there are certain things that is required of you. And because people are making these applications from Africa with the chartered institutes and all of those ones that are not recognized here, it makes such an application very difficult. But then one of the ones that I did, the individual has had a professional experience of almost about 19 years at the executive level. And because of that, because his experience with the experience he's had was so great, there was no way they could deny that application. And even though we had one or two hiccups here and there, the application was denied, was approved within a very short time. And so, whatever experience you have in the field that you are in, some of us we worked before we started our master's degree. That experience that you had working before you started your master's degree could be the experience you need to be able to file for a national interest waiver under the exceptional ability trajectory, which for me is very, very important. And of course, when we are looking at the exceptional ability, we are looking at your expertise within the area right there. And so just looking at the body of work we've done, it is assumed that because you've done the work for so many years, you have the requisite knowledge to be able to accomplish that proposed endeavor that you want to achieve within the United States. And when you're looking at this waiver, the exceptional ability, you have to look at three. You have to look at three out of these things that we want to look at, and there are six of them. And so there are 3 out of 6 things that we have to look at. So there are 6 things, and we advise that if you meet all 6, you have to give them all 6. We always advise that you must always attempt to meet all the 6. However, it is only 3 that will be taken into consideration by USCIS. And they look at your official academic record. Even though you are coming from an exceptional ability sphere, you still have to show that at least you have a degree. You have a degree in the field. And so you may not have a master's degree, you may not have a PhD degree, but at least you must have a degree, a bachelor's degree. It could be an associate degree. That is enough, right? But there has to be a degree somewhere to be able to prove and show that you had something as the basis for being in the profession. So that is the first thing that you have to look out for. And so if you have a bachelor's degree, you still have a chance of applying for the NIW without showing the things that you have to show for those who are going through the Bukolong area, right? And then you also have to show evidence from your employers, right, showing that at least you've had 10 years full time of experience, and this experience is not just mere experience, right? They want to look at your experience a little above the lower level, right? And so if you've worked 10 years within the lower level rank, this is not a prong that you want to rely on. But of course, you have to be able to show that you have worked for at least 10 years in the field that you are in. And that is very, very important. And then also you must have a license to practice the profession or certificate that you find yourself in. And so if you're a banker and then go through that route of getting an NIW, right? Your license that is giving you, your license that you have acquired as a nurse is something that is very important that can contribute to you getting this exceptional ability NIW prong. And so you must show that license. And so once you have a license, you have a degree, and then you have letters proving that you've worked within the field for 10 years. That is a plus for you. That is a plus for you. And then these are the remainder 3, which will include you showing that the salary that you received for the work you did was higher than people within the mid-level of the organization. Again, you may not meet this prong. It doesn't kick you out. You can go back and look at the 5th one, which will be your evidence of membership in a professional association. And so if you are in engineering, if you are an electric engineer, and you're in that field, and then there is an electric engineer association in the USA, I would suggest that you can join it at this time. And most of these associations, they make room for students to be able to join them while you are students. If you're in pharmacy school, and then there is a pharmacy association, we want to encourage you to join those associations. Because once you have evidence to show that you're a member of such a professional association, it becomes something that you can use to support this NIW application that you are doing under exceptional ability. And so that is something that is being encouraged a lot. Those of us within our legal fields, it's very easy because we all belong to a bar, right? And so within a state, you can just go and then show proof of your bar admission within that state to show that you belong to a professional association. Our nurses, our doctors, even our architects, our civil engineers, and almost all these professional areas, they all have these professional bodies that are available for people to join. And I've heard some of our speakers talk about it, that let us get ourselves into these organizations because we can use them for immigration purposes. And then also, there's evidence of recognition of your achievement and significant contribution to the industry, right? And so even though you don't have a degree, you have championed or you have led certain things within the area of profession that is recognized in your organization or in the field that you are in, you are able to use that to support your exceptional ability from. So with these 6 elements, you don't have to meet all of them. You only need to meet 3 out of them, right? And so you just have to go through them and then pick the 3, which is easier for you even to attain. That is what we have for there. And then having been able to determine whether we are doing the application and some of the most important things that about the national interest, the proposed endeavor that you want to do. And that is the first one that has to do with substantial merit and national importance. Any proposed endeavor that you want to pursue in the US must meet these 2 criteria, must be of national importance and must have substantial merit. And the courts have defined these things even for us, right? And so what we have here is that these ones focus on a specific proposed endeavor that you want to do, as I said, and that it could mean you an idea concerning a research, could be something that you want to bring, it could be a product that you want to release in a system, it could be anything that you want to do. But then once you think about these things, the proposed endeavor, as you are considering it, must be something that resolves a problem within the United States. And when you look around our environment, there's so many things that go on that really need solutions for. And so once you begin to evaluate the proposed endeavor in that sphere, it makes you it opens you up and makes your application very strong, even to get to a place of an approval. And you also must demonstrate that, like I said, it will bring significant contribution to the US economically, socially, and even academically. And so sometimes most of the applications that I have reviewed for NIW is that many people focus on the benefit that they are going to get from the proposed endeavor, right? And so someone says, for my proposed endeavor, I want to establish, I want to come up with a water pump that will filter waters for all of us. And then the proposed endeavor focuses on on the revenue that he's going to make, not really on the solution that he's giving or rendering to people, like taking metals out of water, drinkable water, and making water more drinkable and purifiable. They don't focus on that. They focus on what they get. But then to be able to meet the substantial merit prong, you need to be able to show that whatever you are doing will bring a lot of advancement to the lives of the people within the US and the US government even as well. One of the things that you also want to consider when you are looking at the substantial merit and national importance is your field of study. It's your field of study. And those of us within the area of sciences, if you are within the STEM areas, and I saw STEM in Madam Menu's presentation and submission. If you are within the STEM area, it is very good for you because automatic is something that meets the requirement of the substantial merit and national importance. And so that is something that you have to look into. So those of our brothers and sisters within the STEM field, just this is a good news for you, right? But still, you have to show other things for USCI these days to be able to agree with you that yes, your proposed endeavor has substantial merit and national importance. Now, one of the ways to be able to show a substantial merit and national importance, like I said, is with your proposed endeavor, right? Itself, the endeavor itself. Sometimes articles about the things that you want to talk about, research in the area, research that you have done, research that others have done within that field are all important in helping you achieve this substantial merit and national importance. And then also, after showing that you have national your proposed endeavor has a substantial merit and national importance, your next challenge is to show that you, the individual that you are making the application, you are well positioned to advance your proposed endeavor. You have to be able to show that you are well positioned to advance your proposed endeavor, and it really comes with a bit of skill, a bit of knowledge, and a bit of expertise and the research that you have done in that area or in the field. Those are the issues that we look normally USCIS will look to or evaluate to show whether you are well positioned to advance the proposed endeavor. Sometimes people here the awards that you have received are all things that are very, very relevant to make those arguments even for you. And of course, if you're a PhD holder, your PhD in the area for itself alone is a very strong statement for you in the field. So a PhD is good, strong for you. And of course, the other thing that you consider regarding your ability to um, another thing that you have to consider regarding your ability to show your awards and other things that you have received within the United States. There are times too we have people who are already engaged in research work, and then the U.S. government has given them awards for the research work, or they've given them what we call grants, right? If you are someone who has received a grant in the area of your expertise or in your field of study, this is something that you can easily meet just because the U.S. as a government has recognized your ability and then given you a grant. It's a big deal for you to establish that you're well positioned even to advance the proposed endeavor. And so, like I said, you must submit your school set awards, scholarships, funding, career awards, and then career promotions. All of them will be needed to be able to make that case for yourself. And then also, and here, being well positioned, I think one thing that is very important is getting referees. You need people to write statements for you. And some of the people you need will be your professors in school, you need your past employers, and then you need colleagues within the area of field. Sometimes you can just submit your proposed endeavor to an independent expert within the field who can evaluate it and then write an objective perspective of the proposed endeavor you want to engage in to USCIS, arguing that what you want to do in the US is something that is attainable and something that is worth looking at. So people go to the extent of getting independent experts to come in and do that on their behalf to make sure that it spices up their application and then get them approved even to move forward. And then lastly, if you are embarking on initiatives like those of us who are really within the field of how do we call it, field where you've broken boundaries by doing novel activities. This is the area or the place to be able to show that indeed you are well positioned to advance the proposed endeavor, which is being presented. And then the last prong that we look at under national interest waiver is the requirement that your job offer should be waived. Your job offer should be waived. And when I began, I just said that if you are within the EB2 sphere, the difference between EB2 and EB1 is that EB2 at all times you will need a visa to get into the US, or to be able to stay in the US. But with the national interest waiver, which is the exception under EB2, uh, you have to make an argument that the government should waive that requirement for you. And this is how you do it. You do it by stressing on the viability and the strength of the proposed endeavor that you want to do, and your ability to let the government or argue to the government to understand that um, it will be impracticable for you to go and look for a job, because you, the person working around, you are a job creator, you are creating jobs. Your ideas are transforming lives already. You have ideas that can transform society. So they have to be able to waive that requirement for you. And it's really impracticable for you to be doing that. And in so doing, what normally USCIS is looking at is that they are looking at your again, looking at the referees and the statement that the references write for you. We've seen a lot of applications where references did state that a person is well positioned to advance the proposed endeavor. However, they did not make any strong argument that the person also, the person's job offer should be waived. The job offer requirement should be waived. They are not able to do that, and it's not really their fault, right? Because most of these people sometimes they don't know what to write. But then what has to be done is that the referee should be able to write your letter such that it goes on to not only support or show that you are really good at what you do, but then also to be able to make an argument on your behalf that whatever the government, you don't need to be offered a job to be able to accomplish what you want to accomplish, just based on their professional experience and based on their professional seats. You do not have to be given a job to be able to do what you want to do. You can pursue that even without a job offer. And when they make those arguments for you within their letters, most of the time USCIS considers these things. And so when we are thinking about the NIW national interest waiver, I think one of the questions that people normally ask is that, do you need a lawyer to file this? And normally they might have put my answer that it depends, right? Depends on your background, depends on your qualifications, and it depends on what the documents that you have. And often these applications are applications that you can file on your own. And I want you to hear me very well. These applications that are applications that you can sit down and file on your own. Of course, as a lawyer, I would not advise that you do it on your own. Even though you want to do it, even if you want to do it on your own, go a long way to help you align your application and make sure it is within the acceptable application that USCIS is considering now. I think one thing that I also want to acknowledge or want to just be straightforward about it is that these days NIW EB2 it's becoming more challenging, right? Because again, the idea is out there and people know about it. But of course, regardless, there are ways in which you can make your application stand out of the lot. And I think those are things that you can explore when sometimes you consult with experts within your vicinity, within your neighborhood, or experts that you are comfortable with to come in and then help you consider the application that you are, help you review and then look into the application that you are applying to USCIS for concerning the NIW application. Yes, and so I want to encourage all of you that before you think about looking into marriages and then looking into all these other areas, some of these applications are applications that are very good, that you can really make a lot out of. And so just consider NIW, EB2, or the EB1B applications. And I think when you do that, you easily get your green card and you don't have to worry about getting the green card, unlike the path of the O1 visa, which if you're not very strong, if you don't have a lot of credentials for NIW, I will encourage that you go with the O1 visa, which I spoke about earlier. It is the non-immigrant visa for the NI and for the NIW or the EB visas. And so with that, when you file the O1 visa, what you do is that you get a 2-year non-immigrant visa, and then you can extend it. And after that, based on that, you can file for an NIW or try and get an immigrant visa through that. But these are the best ways to consider, I mean, the best options for you to look into before considering marriage to people that you are not really in love with. I'll stop here. If anyone has a question, you can ask us.
So God bless you, lawyer. So I believe there's a question in the chat. It says, hello, so regarding the progressive experience with the bachelor's, does being a graduate research assistant during the PhD program count as part of their work experience?
All right. So I mean, if you do a PhD program, I think that will count as work, right? I think that will count as work. But of course, if you are within a PhD program, then I will, and if the program is related to STEM, let me just make a little distinction. If the program is related to STEM, then I will try and give the NIW advanced degree a shot, or give the EB1B a shot for that. But of course, your graduate research assistant counts as work because you are paid for that as well. So that is also work. Yeah.
Career Summit. If there's anything, please, you can feel free to reach out to Mr.
I have a question. So, I think you may have mentioned your field of study has to be what you're working on. Like, say you're hired, you're a grad student, you're a PhD student, you've graduated, and you're currently working on something which is not directly aligned to your field of study, which may qualify you for the NIW. I guess the reason I'm asking is I saw towards the end of your presentation that there's a job waiver, so you actually do not have to be working to qualify for it, right?
Right. So, and I think that was the distinction I was trying to make from the beginning. That I said, guys, I have kids around the house all over. So, with the NIW, you don't need an employer, and that is why it is a place that has a lot of people applying for. You don't need an employer to apply for NIW. You can sit down and then do it yourself. But with the general EB2 category, you will need an employer, right? An employer must petition for you. But with specifically NIW, the presentation that I did, you don't need an employer. No, you can just sit down and apply it for yourself.
Okay, thank you. So that implies if you are currently working and your job is not directly related to the field of study which you're trying to get the national interest waiver for, I guess that does not disqualify you.
No, I don't think it disqualifies you. It depends on the degree you have, right? It depends on the degree you have, and it depends on your ability to make an argument that you will be able to you'll be able to accomplish that proposed endeavor, which is aligned to your degree, right? And so let me just make an example. I know someone who is an electrical engineer, right? And the person, because the person is not getting work, so now the person is doing something, just teaching application. However, because he has that background in the engineering.
I think your line is breaking. Sir.
your work as a teacher will not,
Yeah, sir,
will not
please,
come.
can you go back a little bit because your line was breaking up, so we didn't hear you. Can you go back a little
All
bit
right.
from where you said the person
right,
had
so-
electrical engineering and they weren't getting any job to do or something? Yeah.
Okay, so I will say that maybe you graduated with a master's degree in engineering, civil engineering, and then you've not been able to get job, right? And so maybe you are doing an OPT, and then in the OPT you are teaching science students in the high school. I mean, which is not bad, because you are not teaching the high school students civil engineering. It will not preclude you from making an NIW application under your civil engineering degree. The only downside is that in that application you do, that career that you have may not play an important role in the decision making of the one who is reviewing the application. And so it will not prevent you from applying NIW. However, your work experience may not be pivotal in the review of the application, but you can still apply. Right? Once you have the degree, a master's degree in civil engineering, whether you work with it or not, and you are good, you can still apply an NIW in the field of civil engineering. I hope you understand what I said.
You did. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Please, those on Zoom, any other question? And if you have any other question or any can you hear me? Hello, can you hear me? Sir, can you?
Yes, please.
So we'll be able to contact you from here, in case.
Yes. There is a question from Pastor Mensa. Let me just try and then read and then just answer it. And then it says, "What if you've lost your visa status as a student? How then can you find a decent work to make a living for yourself?" And I think that is very challenging. Sometimes people come to school and then we are not able to make the payment, and out of that we get out of it. And the point is that if you lose your status as a student, the only legitimate way of getting yourself back is to through a lot of means of getting yourself back, which will include marriage, as I said, and all the other things that I've listed. And the point is that if you have overstayed your visa for 180 days, or if you have lost your student visa status for more than 180 days, the only legitimate way for you to get back into the system is through marriage, or through asylum and those other things, right? But I mean, I can just go on and hit on the fact that it's through marriage. So even with asylum, you have to explain why you did not file the asylum application within a year that you came in. But if you have overstayed your visa, or you have lost your status for more than 180 days, then all the things that we are talking about, and the EB visas do not apply to you. The only option for you is that you have to be thinking about marriage to someone.
So, answer if I understood you correctly. What about if someone who lost his status, right, and they be able to secure a job, maybe a teaching job or something? Can the school file for them, or the big company file for them too, if possible?
Can you please repeat the question?
Yeah, I'm saying that if someone who is out of status, maybe they're able to secure a job or maybe teaching in a school or something, can the school be able to file for them, or the business be able to?
Yes. So if you are working, the school can file for you. And I think the most important piece of what I said is the 180-day rule, right? The moment you are out of status after 180 days, no school can file for you. The school cannot file for you, right? Even if if the school is filing for you, there is another hurdle that you have to go, you have to jump in immigration, and you have to come and prove and show why you overstayed your visa, which is a long thing to do. And normally you have to do it through what we call waiver of inadmissibility, right? And so if you have lost your status, fresh, then someone can intervene by filing for you. Even churches have filed for people, are permitted to file for people, especially those who are religious workers within the organization are able to file for them. However, the 180-day rule really is so strict in immigration, such that the moment you go beyond the 180 days, you have to go and file what we call waiver of inadmissibility, and you cannot get that approval if you don't have a U.S. citizen, spouse, or child. So you don't want to go. That is a very complex area you want to get there. So that is why most lawyers will tell you, if you overstayed for 180 days, just think about marriage. That would be the easier path for you.
Okay, thank you. There's one more in the chat. They say, what about international students whose F1 visa are expired, but their I-20 permits them to be here? Can they file for EB?
All right. So the F1 visa, the thing to note about the F1 visa is that the F1 visa, even though it expires, it's not what keeps you here, right? Your I-20 keeps you here. And even though your visa has expired, you can actually travel outside the US with the I-20. And then also, of course, you have to go to USCIS sometimes for them to stamp for you. So if you are still in school, and then when you're coming in, your course was 2 years, and your embassy gave you 3 months visa, your I-20 is still intact. Your presence in the US is still intact. So you have not violated any status on your application. So you can always file. You can always do the EB visas, right? Your I-20 will be the one that we look at if you're a student. So you should be fine.
So can you also travel with that I-20 permit outside the country? Can you travel outside the country with the I-20?
Yes, if you're an F1 student, you can always travel. Yes, you can travel with your I-20 and then your visa. Normally we have advised, and because if you come here with a visa and you're a student, normally if you want to travel, you always need USCIS to have an idea where you are going. And so we always advise, if you go sometimes if you go through your school's international students people, they will tell you, oh, don't go, you are fine, you can go. But I will always advise that you always go through USCIS. Just book an appointment with the closest USCIS office and tell them you are traveling. They will stamp in your visa, your passport, for you to be able to go and come back in. One thing that you also have to understand is that anytime you are applying for, if you have applied for the EB1 and you have been approved and you are still a student, and then say you have to travel outside to undertake a research, what you have to understand is that you cannot go out without permission. Anytime you have a pending application with USCIS and you go outside of the US without permission, automatically it kills the application that you have. Sometimes they will not catch it. They will still go ahead and approve the application for you. But then if you have to maybe apply for naturalization, or maybe reapply for that status, it may come up. So as an F1 student, you always need to seek permission before you leave out. When you're going out, just contact USCIS, let them stamp your visas before you leave the country. That's always the best way.
Okay, thank you, sir. So there's one more in the chat. It says, are these pathways open for students that lawfully left the US after completion of their studies? A notice was sent to international office and upwards to USCIS before departure from the US.
Right. So yeah, if someone left after completion of their studies, they are good. They are still good, and normally they can have these applications done. When I started, I mentioned that these applications can be filed from any part of the world, and so they don't even have to be in the U.S. to file it. They can file from Nigeria, from Congo, from Switzerland, Sweden, wherever you find yourself, you can apply from there. But it's always better if somebody is in here doing that application for you. But you don't have to. You don't have to be in here to be able to do it.
All right. God bless you, lawyer. Well, we just have one here too. It says, please, who do we seek permission from, and what's the procedure? Assuming you have a pending application with USCIS and you need to go for an international conference as a student.
Yes. So all you need to do, and just to before I even answer this, there are about in the US, I think what the data, if you look at the data, maybe there were over 1,300 people just between 2022 and 2024 who could not naturalize because of a mistake like a very simple mistake like this. Some of them came in, they were in school, they could still travel, and then some of them married, they had applications in, they traveled outside, didn't seek permission, and then when they came in, they were good, everything went through. They had to, now they have to become, they have to naturalize. And then USCIS is telling them that they did not acquire their green card in a proper manner because the application should have been denied. To be able to do it, it's very simple. Just, if you want to do these things, just Google InfoPass. Google InfoPass, and I've typed InfoPass in the system for you to see. You Google what we call InfoPass. What InfoPass does is that it is related to USCIS, and so it will allow you to make a schedule. It will schedule you to appear before USCIS office, and then tell them that you have to travel outside, and then they will, and then you follow it. And I'm really hitting this very strongly. Let us not rely on the international student office on some of these things, because mostly they will tell you can go, and then later on it can come back to hurt you. So do well to go through USCIS themselves before you travel outside as an international student. Just do InfoPass. They will schedule you for an appearance. You don't pay anything. You just go. You tell them what you are coming to do, and then it's a stamp. They just put a stamp in and you're done. Very, very simple. Very simple process.
Just one add on the InfoPass one. If you call the USCIS number and you just tell them schedule an InfoPass appointment, they will connect you straight to someone. So sometimes it's very hard to get to them, but if you just say that, they're definitely connecting you to someone. And also, so was the permission like, an advanced parole? Can you like apply for just the advanced parole and that gives you the permission to leave?
No, so this is not advanced parole, right? This is not advanced parole because your F1 status really allows you to be here. It actually gives you the opportunity to travel. You do these things just to fulfill all righteousness, right? Sometimes we've had issues where people are coming in and they meet USCIS officers who are very young in the system, and they do not really, they are still learning. And we've had instances where people have been actually asked to go back. They've deported people who had the right to be here because they did not have a stamp, right? So you are just doing this to fulfill all righteousness. You don't have to fill any form for it. You just go to them and tell them, show them your status, go with your F1, make sure you have your passport, the visa is in, and then you have your the signed I-20 document also. When you go in there, let them know you are traveling, they'll stamp it for you. If you need an advanced parole, then that one you have to pay money for it. And you don't need this one, you don't need an advanced parole for it.
Please, are there other questions for Mr. Ansah? So, to Laura, please, can you also put your contact info in the chat for us, please? We will be able to get in touch after this program, please. And so even as Lawyer San is doing that, we would like to take this opportunity to thank him so much. As a matter of fact, he was supposed to be here in person with Dr. Sam, but some way, somehow, his flight took him to, I believe, another state. There's another city called Augusta in, I believe, Maine, in Maine. And so that's where the flight took him to instead of Atlanta, Augusta, Georgia. And so that is why he's not here in person. So he's been through a lot. So we want to say, on behalf of the Augusta and the Northcross District, we want to say God bless you and sorry for making you go through all that. And may the Lord replenish you for all that you have spent and wasted on us and make you great. Amen. So God bless you, and we thank you so much for the opportunity, teaching us, taking us through all this information. And we really appreciate you for coming to do that for us. Amen. Amen. So if there's no other question, we'll bring our session to. But we have general questions. I believe our Dr. Sam is here. We're also privileged to have our pastor in our midst, Overseer Kwajo from Pong. We want to say God bless you for coming. We didn't expect you, but you paid us a surprise visit. God bless you for coming, Papa. Amen. So if you have any other question, Dr. Sam is here in our midst. You can feel free to approach him, and we'll be more than happy to answer any question that you have. And we have also his copies of his book here, Narrowing the Path. You don't want to miss it. It's very one of the best books so far that has been written. So you want to grab a copy even as you leave here. God bless us all for coming. Amen. It's $20 per piece, please. Amen. God bless us. So we want to also thank you all for coming. I know today is Saturday. Most of you have labs and all that stuff that you need to do, but you took the time to come and listen to us. We say God bless you. And God bless you, Dr. Sam. God bless you, Dr. Sam, for flying all the way from DC area